Now we are live. Hello and welcome back, beloved viewers. Matt, if you're out there, you are the MVP for showing up over and over and over again.
That you are.
How you doing, Courtney?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little tired. This week, I changed my sleep schedule around. I'm a night owl traditionally.
Okay.
Means in my time zone, I'm asleep between midnight and 1.
Uh huh.
Um, but I started a new part-time job making donuts, and that has me getting up at 5 in the morning, which was not complimentary to my old sleep schedule. So I've been going to bed at 9 to get my full 8, and I have to say, I'm tired, but I feel okay. I feel energized right now. So I'm more
Uh,
excited about code than making donuts, so I'm very happy to be here to do this with you.
love it. Fantastic.
How about you, Spencer? What's good with you?
Uh, I'm doing well. As you are aware, I am crazy busy right now between Nebulae wanting to really push stuff forward, and then also I and I I'm working on a project, a stealth project at the moment with some other individuals for the end of the month, and Courtney has actually joined our team to help out to take a little bit of load off and help build out some more of these parts. Um, and we were just chatting before we went live a little bit about the progress I've made, which is great, but took me 3 days to get there. so, yeah, this says we're live, but LinkedIn on my profile is not doing that little banner thing where like the banner becomes the stream.
No, but I am logged in and I can see our stream, so it does
Oh,
appear we are
okay.
live.
All right. Well, I'll just ignore that part of that, anyways.
I'll have
Um,
to take LinkedIn's word for it.
yeah, I guess so. Really quickly, the situation you were just lining up that you've had to flip your sleep schedule because of because of a job, and then that's making you go to bed earlier and whatnot. Um, I did very much the similar thing quite a few years ago. Actually, it was back in like 2020, right? I got a part-time job uh, because music industry disappeared. So I did the same thing. I ended up getting a really early morning shift. I did a lot of stocking for the particular retail business that I was working for,
Mm.
and so early morning, like be there at like yeah, it was like 5 ish. I think it was like yeah, shift starts at 5. And that forced me to flip around my sleep schedule there. And then I eventually moved away from that job to another job, and but I decided to keep the early morning routine. And since then, now I've gotten a little bit lax over the last several months. I'll get out of bed at 5 now. My alarm goes off at like 4:30.
Mm.
But then I get 2 hours of uninterrupted like code and work time in the morning before my kids get up at 7.
Oh,
And I
nice.
have
Yeah,
found
that's great.
that to be an absolute game changer for my productivity. Um, it it feels good to sleep in, but then I get up with the kids, and then by the time we get them off to daycare, and I take care of like getting ready in the morning, having breakfast and whatnot, it's like 9 o'clock, and like it just feels like the day is already over.
Right, right. I
uh,
totally get that.
So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is that you have an opportunity here, like with this early morning thing, to like maybe if you want it. It's not for everybody, but I had that happen to me, and then I kind of took it and ran with it, and it's been very beneficial to a degree. So take that
You know, I
for what it's worth.
yeah, I'm feeling the same. I think I don't know. I don't know. I still feel the waking up is actually not the hardest part. Strangely, I thought that if I if I committed to this, that would be. But it's really going to bed early. I'm just so accustomed to definitely
Yep.
being up past 9. It's the days are starting to get a little shorter now. But at first, when I was doing this, it was still light out when I was going to bed, which was like very weird for me.
Yeah.
But it's
Absolutely.
okay. It's okay. It's a means to an end for now.
Yeah.
And it does mean when I get home, I think I'm actually more productive in the time that I have, in the time that I've allotted, I should say, for coding, because I don't just have a blank open schedule. I really, in the morning and the afternoon, I really have a limited amount of time, and I do think that forces me to really commit, and it helps with focus somehow. I also do like that I'm making a thing with my hands at work. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
One thing about coding is we are building, but we're not.
It's not
It's not
tangible
something that I can grab and take with me.
or eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Code doesn't taste so good. Um,
No, no, it can be quite bitter actually.
oh, okay. Upskill and Chill merch store will be launching in a couple of weeks, and that is going to be our first piece right there. I love that. Code is bitter or something. I don't know. We can figure something out with that.
We'll
That's
figure it
awesome.
out.
We got to hold on to that. Okay, so we were discussing about what we wanted to do today. Courtney has made some discoveries about Next.js because we're both still continuing one of the main focuses of doing this project has been just about learning Next, working inside of it, working more with it, and then being forced to learn more about it because Next.js is such a common framework out there in jobs in the market that we both want to just learn it better. And it's more fun to learn it by doing it than learn it by reading it. So that has happened, and I'm excited to learn about the thing that some of the stuff that Courtney's dug up on. Before we get there, I wanted to make one little thing just because I think this is really cool. And so I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Do it.
And I wanted to just mention that a while ago, we had made this section. This is Courtney again. He came up with the cool map stuff and whatnot. But this was to make an array of options for our dropdown, right? Our let's see, is it over? No, I thought here. Bring it over. This, right? Our priority list, right?
Right.
These drop down. We loop through that, and then populate the select element with those options, right? And this is an elegant and very maintainable, type safe fashion for doing such a thing. And I remember just when Courtney put this together and I read it, I was like, this is so cool. And it stuck in my head. And then that stealth project, this is going to be the one little sneak peek that I'm going to give. I found a way to use it again. I putting a side navigation bar on the side of like a dashboard page, and I want the pages that we have as options to be listed in that navigation. And I started to make, the typical like array of objects and remembered, wait, there's a better way to do this. So I played around with it for a little bit. And so ours over here is pretty simple. It's just number and value. But over here, the first one is the key, right? What the key inside of the map. So if you index
Right.
this map with dashboard, you get whatever's the next. And so we can make that anything. So I made an object and I gave it a label, a path, and an icon for each of our routes. So
That's so cool.
then I can again manipulate it around from the object into an array here. Here it's an object at this point with path, label, and icon as keys. And then I can loop over the array of objects, and I can get the label, which will display as the text on the button. That it's the dashboard. I can put in the path, and that you put that into the link element, so that's where it's going to navigate to, and then an icon to go along inside of the button. And it was really cool, and this is definitely something that I'm taking away from our times here. And any opportunity I have in the future, I will be absolutely using that pattern. And I've
That's
actually
so
thought that
cool.
maybe if I get an opportunity to do a like demo or talk at some point to like a TypeScript or front end group of some sort, I might just steal this.
Oh,
And
cool.
I'll give you full credit, of course, but then just talk about like why this is so cool. So, anyways,
Well, thank
um,
you. We've been chill so far, but that was certainly very upskill. So I feel like we've already lived up to the name 10 minutes in.
yeah, super happy
Uh,
about it.
Yeah, I love. So we have all these new data types, and it's cool to understand what they do. But then finding the actual use case for them, where in fact it does make your life easier, or it is the perfect application of this new data type. It's very satisfying and very useful, I think, for solving problems in the future. I mean, so yeah, I put that first one together, and now you had the vision to see like, hey, wait a minute, we could use that here as well because you had an even more complex set of data to display and manage, and we're able to fit that into that paradigm, and it's very useful. I love that.
I love how maintainable it is.
Yeah,
It's
I do
one
too.
thing.
all you have to
Great.
do is add to the one list, and everything else is totally it's totally set and works correctly.
And it's easy to read too. For
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
once you
that's
gain a little
nice.
bit of knowledge, but anyways, so super cool, nerdy stuff. Let's do more nerdy stuff.
Yeah, let's get
T-
into it.
tell us
Yeah,
what you got, Courtney.
yeah. So over the past month, I've been building out my practice buddy app, and I've been very quiet about it lately because I got stuck. I was stuck because I was trying to understand React server components and this whole dichotomy between the standard components we get, which are server components in React, or rather Next. Actually, I guess it's React because they're named after React. But then also the necessity to paste that use client tag at the top of components that use things like React hooks or that utilize like event listeners, like a button that causes something to happen. And so I've been reading a lot about what is that difference? When should I use a server component? When should I use a client component? And I've been trying to use that in my project. And one thing is, I started running into these very distinct roadblocks where it felt like every time I was trying to build something, a client component felt appropriate, not a server component, because I wanted to either maintain state or I was creating like a reusable like input or button component, which themselves are client components. And I was really not finding much use for server components, which are the default. If you just create a new component and you don't tag it with use client, it's a server component. Um, and I've been confused about this for weeks. And I happened to watch a video that I sent to you, Spencer, and maybe I can link this as well so other people can see. It's by a YouTuber named ByteGrad, and it's just called "All 29 Next.js Mistakes Beginners Make." And I was on lunch one day, decided I'd finally pop it on. It's a long video, but I wanted to see. And he starts with 10 or so points about server versus client components and a lot of the confusion that goes on around that. And after watching it, I had a kind of a rare moment where watching something, I went, aha, I know what to do. Because I've been trying to force as many server components into my flow as possible. But what I realized is I just wasn't using them correctly.
Hmm.
Now, let me share my screen. I'm going to bring up good old Upskill&Chill here, the repo that is. Um, so we have these routes right now, right? In our API folder in the app, we have these routes that do various things, and these are basically traditional REST endpoints, right? These we can get based off of the ID provided. We can delete doing the same thing, and we can also do a few other things like post or get just on the non-ID route for tasks. And one thing that he went over, and I think this might be more of an opinion than a firm like this is how it has to be, is that what we're doing here, these are called route handlers, I believe, when you're using the API folder and starting to do business, basically business logic that interacts with your backend and other ways. They call these route handlers. And his opinion is that this is really an appropriate place to put things like webhooks, which, if I'm remembering correctly, webhooks allow for more instantaneous communication. It's like what you would use for like online gaming, for instance. We're not making API calls in games, right? Where if you're playing real time, at least you have communication that's happening real time. But he defined some terms that had been really confusing me. So server components, server actions, and then route handlers. So we've talked about route handlers. Server components, I actually wasn't sure. Like I thought, is this a server component? It's not really a component, but it is a function. And um, I read Stack Overflow answers, and it had not made it any clearer. And it turns out server components are exactly what you might think, which is like the root page or layout. These are components that they're just server components. And what that means is that they are bundles of HTML sent from the back end or the server rather to our front end. So they're pre-rendered, and this saves a lot of time. for when we're rendering, right?
And that's where we get the server-side rendering, SSR.
Exactly. Notably, they're not. I guess they're dynamic to a degree, but there's no notion of state or anything that needs to be updated on the client. Now, so that you might ask, what's a client component? Well, as I understand it, a client component is it's similar. I believe this is where it gets really technical, and this is something we'll maybe need to research. But you're sending like a base package of HTML, but it's fully hydrated on the front end, and you're basically sending a bundle of JavaScript, because the JavaScript is basically what allows for our interactivity, and in many cases our dynamic rendering of things on the page, right? And so the idea is that server components save you some time in your initial load, because you don't have to, you're not sending a bundle of JavaScript, which will slow the browser down if you're sending a lot. And then client components allow for that interactivity, and you have to find the balance between the two, fitting client components as far down the tree of components as possible, so you have the least amount of a package sent to the client. Okay, that leaves server actions. This is where I was really missing how to operate. One thing we did is we created a form for adding to-dos, and since we're tracking state, that forced this to be a client component. But there is a way to refactor this using server actions that would actually make this into a server component, and therefore reduce the load we send to the client, and maintain functionality without, maintain most of the functionality, I should say, without sacrificing like what the user goes through. And I was going to ask you before we started if you'd be interested in either restructuring this, or building another like parallel client just to see how it would look. Not client, sorry, a parallel server component that is our form that would function the same, but not, it wouldn't be a client component, basically. It wouldn't track state. And it would probably be better to do that than replace this altogether, just to see how it goes. But how would you feel about that?
Yeah, so this this whole discussion is very timely, because this is the thing that this is at least a major piece of what I've been struggling with in our other project that I've been working on and trying to figure out for the last 3 days, has been, when is it client, when is it server, what do I have accessible on each of those sides, how do I get them to talk to each other? And today I've been having small light bulbs going off in that direction. So this is actually super on topic for me. So I love the idea of, what I would do is I would make a duplicate of this file and just name it like backup page, because then it's not going to be pulled in by next. It's just going to sit there. It shouldn't get in the way of any routing at all. And then in the actual page that's here, I would say you just go to town on it, and we have a backup, and there's no problem.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm sorry, one more time. You want me to
create a copy of that file?
The file. Okay, gotcha. Where are we? I guess I do it like this. In the same folder, or did you say make a parallel folder?
Just leave it right there. That's what, if we name it like backup page or backup, whatever it needs to be, and then just take everything from page TSX and put it in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we have that all just saved. It is the way it is. It's supposed to be. And then you can go back over to page, because that's the one that's actually and edit that all you want, and we can revert very easily.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So here's the magic, right? With our form, there's a special property that we can give it. So like right now we do on submit, right? Well, we can actually give it an action, and where server actions come in, we'll have to write this, but we basically give the actual request to the action, and so whenever you submit this on this form, it will perform that action, and this allows you to make, for instance, like a post request to the back end. So like if we want to add a task that's a post request to our backend to create a new task, and then it doesn't automatically update, but there is a function called revalidate that we can add to that post request that will make sure that we revalidate the path that we're on, the route, meaning I actually pulled this up actually. Post. So what are we on? We're on task or tasks?
Yeah, /task or
task or task?
/to do.
Oh, you know what?
I think it's /to do.
I haven't even started this up.
The API endpoint is task.
Oops, not watching Netflix. Not today. To do.
I think.
Let's see. Needs a second to start up. You know how Next is.
Task. Yeah, because the folder is to do.
Okay. Right.
And then and this is the page inside the folder. So yeah, that'll be the route name.
And let me I'm gonna get rid of this for now. And what is going on with task? It doesn't like, I need to npm install. Make sure I'm caught up on all the things that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I brought in datefns and the phosphor icons. Have you seen the front end since I made my changes?
I don't think I have. Let's take a look here.
Prepare to be dazzled. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh no. Did his computer shut down, or maybe he hit a wrong button? Here we go.
Oh, that's so funny.
What happened?
I refreshed on the wrong window.
Okay. Oh man. Yeah, you just I heard the clack of the button and then you just disappeared.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to. We are back. Okay. Gonna make sure I'm clicked on the correct window before.
Gonna keep everybody guessing. Everyone's guessing.
Okay. Still compiling, I think. Oh man, nothing like it. Okay, very cool.
Prepare yourself to be dazzled.
So should the to-dos items be showing up? Oh, they do. Okay. There you go.
We need a loading spinner. See, that's why people invented loading spinners.
Oh man, I learned something new about that too. Do you know what the suspense component is in React?
I have heard mention of it. I don't know anything about it.
Oh, this is so cool. Hold on, let me. I'm not gonna fully make it right now, but you import it from, I think from React, and what do we have? Where am I right now? I'm on a task. I need page. So we're creating all our tasks here. You could do something like this, where it's suspense. You give a fallback, and it'll be something like, loading. I should probably have made this a div.
I think you want that closing at the beginning.
I most certainly do.
Yeah.
And you do this. Oh gosh, doing it again, aren't I? No. Suspense. Oh my gosh.
Suspenser? I don't know.
What did I do wrong? Oh, I didn't import it, right? Suspenser, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I didn't close this, did I? There we go.
Yeah.
But basically what'll happen is, if this hasn't fully loaded yet, this will render the fallback until this fully loads.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's cut. I mean, so the alternative is the idea of making a state for loading, and then while it's loading, you're showing the loading spinner, and then once loading comes in, or whatever your trigger is, you set the state to false, and then it goes into show what you actually want to show. But this just does that all in a component.
Yes, exactly.
That's really nice.
Yeah, yeah, and you can pass a component in here, for instance. It takes
Yeah,
JSX basically. I'll leave this here for now, but I don't know if we're gonna
that's kind of
need to
cool.
mess with it too
It's
much.
kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Okay, so converting this into a server component. Um, what do we need to do? For one, we have to get rid of state, which means that we will not be utilizing all the work we've done thus far on like handling submit or handling change.
Not sure I'm a fan
So
of this anymore.
I know, because this is pretty sexy code right here.
It's beautiful work. We worked really hard on that.
But just in the interest, we don't have to commit to this, of course. But let's just test it out. I'm gonna go ahead and comment all that out. Oh, I see. So we have the delete task here. Cool.
We were gonna pull
Another
those out too. We were gonna move those to like an external file and then bring in delete task, get task, just to make this simpler. That was something
right.
else that we were gonna do.
And I'm kind of interested in even just converting all of this logic into an action as well. I'm not sure how that would
Yeah,
work, but that's something we can keep exploring. So I'll get rid of use client since we're going to convert this. Go ahead and take those out. Take this out. I'm just pulling all the parts out.
man. Yeah, like the drastic rewrite.
Yeah, seriously, no joke. I guess we need change event. Oh, we don't need change event right now. Okay. And so there's a lot of things it doesn't like. Set tasks we no longer need. Let's pull that back.
Get tasks.
Um,
Maybe not. Maybe not. That's not a set. That's a
we'll
get.
we'll still want to get tasks. And this is an interesting thing. So I'm going to keep referring to this video a lot because this is really where my mind was open to all of this. But the idea is that any GET request, generally speaking, can be made by the component itself, the server component, upon render. Or I don't know if that's the right terminology, but when it's first sent from the back end. Because we're generating all this HTML from the back end, so it's already close, so to speak,
Right.
to our data. So what we can do is like get tasks. We can still use the route that we've created to get tasks. Which one are we doing? Let me see here. Oops. Oh, you're just making it directly. Yeah, well, this is perfect. We can make this, and then, like, how would we do this? You basically be like tasks equals, and also one other thing this opens us up to is being able to make our functional component async. Server components can be async, client components cannot.
I was running into this problem again in the other project where some of the stuff was async and some wasn't, and having to figure out which ones could be user server and client for that reason to be able to enable the functionality within. Like, yeah, it's a nightmare.
Exactly. So we'll return the data from get tasks, and now our tasks will be equal to the same results that we were pinging for before.
Wait. Can you look up at that again? Sorry.
Yeah. And let me actually, I'll pull this up here.
Tasks,
So that
await, get tasks. That's right. So yeah, the pattern is if it's a server component, you can just make an await and a fet and a call, just straight in the component, and you'll get the stuff. Because basically, the way I have it in my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like you're thinking about the server as a location. The data is in that location, and your component is in that location at the time of creation. So they can very easily talk to each other. And then, so it's just be like, hey, give me the data. It gives it the data, and then that gets sent over to the client, and now it's here. So it like pre-packages it and then sends it, as opposed to being a client component making an API call back to the server to get the information, right?
exactly.
So that's why
because,
they can just talk to each other because it's all happening on the server before
exactly
send.
because again, server components are really like bundles of HTML being sent to the front end and then render for us to look at. So there's no JavaScript involved in that set of I guess pre-rendered material. there's a lot of terms that I'll use, and I may be using them wrong, and we'll correct ourselves as we find out more, of course.
I
But
expect a full and complete analysis and apology.
a full redaction.
Post to
Okay.
LinkedIn. I am very sorry. I
I,
misused terms.
I never should have. Yeah, no, totally.
I see the error of my ways.
I should have done better. Okay, so now probably the most important thing we'll need to do is define our action. Um, and this is one of the cool things, I think, because I always had it in my mind that form components must be client components because you have to track your state somehow, and you have to submit that state every time you're handling your submit, right? Well, not necessarily so. Let me see. Is there a good folder for me to put some new functions in?
Do we want do we want to make like a utils?
Yeah,
Would that seem appropriate?
or library.
Yeah, okay,
Either
sure.
one.
Either one of
I'll
those.
just
Whichever one you
and
feel
I'll
better
keep
about.
it. Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Is everything inside of app? No, let's
Yep.
do it in the SRC, or we can put it in the app. It doesn't
Yeah,
really
I
matter.
think we put it in app because it has to do with the app, yeah. Going with the
Lib.
lib. Okay.
Yeah. We'll call this actions.ts. Okay. So in actions, what do we need to do? So we're going to define a post request. Let's start this by calling it add task. Okay, cool thing. The form data will be automatically sent in the form of form data. And the type, you guessed it, form data. I
I've
believe this
seen
is
form
available.
data a couple of times. It's actually a pretty cool type.
It's a very cool type, and I guess it functions in a sense maybe like a map or an object, because to get your items, you will do form data dot get, and then you reference the name. So for instance, on here, is that input name for us? Let me pull up.
Task name? Yeah,
Where
I
do
think
we
so.
put? Oh, it's in components.
Yeah, it's the name. Because the label is just whatever. Yeah, input name.
Okay, yeah, it's input name. Okay, cool.
So task name.
So task name in this instance. So I would do dot task name, and this would return the value inside of task name, inside
Okay.
of that particular input. And so we'll use that eventually. And there's many clever ways that you can use this to get different props that you might have. Like one thing that I've had to do is use a hidden input component that tracks the ID and the URL in my personal project. That way, I can automatically pass through the form the ID without having to pass any other parameters through this function, because that doesn't work very well. Like having form data and then passing like ID or something like that.
Okay.
It's a little easier to pass everything through the form.
A hidden
Okay.
element. So you're saying in your form you have an element that's just visually unseen that you're programmatically populating with information you also want sent with that you're not making the user enter?
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
Also, I believe when it comes to like page is a very specific file name, and so I don't think you can track parameters or like just pull them out of other components. I think page can pull parameters out of the URL. So like in my case, I'd made a separate form component and I'd passed it from my page into the form component. But then I was having trouble passing that parameter or that prop, I should say, down into my action, which is going to say it's going to be add task. Import it. Oh, I should have exported it from where it's at. There we go. I'm so allergic to these red messages I keep getting everywhere.
Just heightens the blood pressure just a little bit.
I know. I'm just like, oh my gosh, must get rid. Oops. I thought you were gonna do that. Okay.
I appreciate that you're doing an absolute path. I've been,
Yeah,
as I've been working through things, I've been slowly, whenever I see one, I've been trying to switch things from relative over to absolute paths. It just, it's just
I think
better.
it's easier to read. Yeah, it's easier to visualize too.
It's a lot easier to copy too if you're doing something similar elsewhere. You can just copy that import statement over to another file, and it works.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly, exactly. You don't have to worry about, oh, how far away is this particular file from
Or
the file I'm referencing.
I've had situations in the past where I've kind of like reorganized the structure of where my files live occasionally. And if all of your
Mhm.
imports are absolute, you can just move files wherever you want. It doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, so let's do a little fetching. So we're fetching from our own API, I suppose. That would be the easiest. We're gonna do task, and this is gonna be a post request. So this is going to be our create function, basically, right? We're gonna add a task. Okay, let me just fill this all in. You have to pass content type, right?
You'll know better than me. This is something I really need to learn more about. Is just like the server side communication, fetching like
Something
this
about this is
more
wrong.
detailed.
Let's start with body. Yeah, it's getting all the right headers is its own art, I suppose.
It's all the like HTTP networking knowledge. That's something that I really need to study into.
Absolutely, worth knowing for everyone, but obviously it's a lot of things to track. Okay, so how many things are we actually sending? So default task. Where am I? Okay, right.
Send
Let's go. And actually, I guess I have this on this page as well. Yeah,
sending 4, and then some stuff is being added on the back end.
that's right. That's right. So we're going to need to get so, and yeah, no, this is probably the best way to do it for now. Duh. It's going to be task name form data dot get task name. We're going to do this all the way down. Description data dot get description. Priority as well. There's probably a more elegant way to programmatically do this, but this will do for now, I think. And then completed is going to be false. So we could probably just default send that. Right, because the user is basically setting a name, a description, and a priority.
Yep.
And then everything else is already done by the back end, I think.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Good. That's then response. We're going to get our response. And I suppose this should be an await. And then we get rid of this guy. And then we're going to return data. Okay, let me see if this actually works. In fact, there's probably more stuff that needs to be done over here to make sure that right. I'm gonna go ahead and just take these out for now. Now, of course, like the one thing about this is it might change the way that we structure like this text input and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. The select component no longer needs an on change.
The being a front end developer, this just feels wrong.
I'm sure it does.
Like, no, but, this is what we do. This is what we do. We handle the state. We handle the forms.
Just trying to take some work off your plate, my friend. I want you sipping more margaritas or something
Yeah,
like that.
okay.
Okay. And then how to handle value. So I suppose now these will be uncontrolled components. And so that is maybe I forget why we did controlled components. What the like desire for that
Just
was.
allows more control over the inputs and handling the state and submitting it.
That's right. That's right.
Because then we can use the state and then send it however we want. The uncontrolled components, you have less control over manipulating or moving or shaping that data.
Right. Right.
That
Okay.
article started out by going through uncontrolled components, so maybe that would still be applicable here based on what you're trying to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. I suppose there are still reasons to do that. I guess we'll need to call that. Well, this might be the reason too. Well, a funny thing, I was getting really deep in the weeds because I'd started using libraries to handle my forms because I was just not getting the functionality I wanted. And even that was just getting so complex to manage all these different moving pieces. Okay, let's go to text input and see what's going on there. So right now,
So
value.
this file, we may also want to create a backup here if we're going to be making changes in this.
Okay, let me do that right now then. There's no duplicate option, is there? Okay. Copy, paste. I'm just going to rename this backup text input. Good. Okay, and all I think I need to do is make this an optional. And I guess we'll give it a default. Actually, we don't necessarily even need to do that, do we? Let me see how this actually operates. Does page have a problem? It's missing input.
Oh, the on change is required.
Oh, I see. Of course. So we're going to require that as well. Hey, no one's mad anymore. Theoretically.
I'm furious. You're
Yeah,
tearing
well,
apart all
no.
my work.
Aside from Spencer, who is rightly upset. Displayed in the terminal window. Okay. Okay, so let me think here. I guess the only thing I'm unsure of right now is what is happening on our page. So we make our call to tasks, fetch /API/task. We await the JSON response and then return it. And what is this saying is the problem?
I've seen this too. I would start by doing a refresh. That's exactly what he did on the wrong browser again. Oh man. Okay. We will wait here. There he is.
It's so hard to find good help these days, isn't it, Spencer?
Oh boy, this will definitely come up in your performance review.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. You gonna write me up for this?
Yeah, I'm gonna clip out this part of the episode and put out there on employer like LinkedIn's. Be like, is this the guy you want to hire? This guy?
You know what? I deserve it. I fully prostrate myself to your judgment. Okay.
Because what's funny is that you were asking about that error, and I was I was in the process of saying try a refresh.
I know. I could hear. That was the last thing I heard.
Did that not work?
No, that didn't work.
Okay.
Let me just see. So,
because I've seen this exact error multiple times in the last couple of days with the other stuff I was working on. It seemed like it's been kind of like a rebuild issue. Although with everything you've moved around here now, I'm not I mean, none of the files are screaming at you saying, "Hey, this is bad syntax." So yeah, maybe doing a rebuild, maybe going back to the home route in your browser.
Good idea. Just start
before
there.
yeah, before going back to the to do again. I know at least one of the times I had this pop up, it was just because I was changing too much stuff and it needed like a full refresh. We'll see if that holds true here or not.
It's still trying to take me to do. Don't do that. Okay, good.
There.
Didn't
Okay.
break everything.
This works. And then does our to do. Okay, so that's where the
Certainly
problem
not.
is.
Okay, so let's see what this actually means. Here we go. Here's the process.
Oh, React Redux. We're not doing Redux.
But
But
are we using context API?
I don't think we have any providers yet.
No. Okay, so this is probably not what we're dealing with. Let's try 2024.
Because it's specifically in a next app here. Oh, that looks familiar.
Yes.
Okay. Theme provider, server component. Is there something that we need that is like use client that shouldn't be use client, or needs to
That
be
might
use
be.
client?
That might be. Let me see. So one thing,
Here.
this maybe needs to be a use client. So one wrinkle I read about is that components will automatically be converted to use client if the parent is use client.
Mhm.
And if we haven't explicitly stated that before, see if this matters. Former full read. Whoa. Oh. Nope. Server error. Okay. Okay. So that's use client. I guess did our we have task as well, but this does not use the client, right? Or did he? Oh, maybe. So are these are third-party libraries?
Yep.
Okay. Another wrinkle is that third-party libraries have not, en masse, been converted to work with server components.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible, though I'm not sure, that this also affects it. Anywhere that we're going to use one of these libraries, we have to make into one. Priority options, text input, add task. Oh, I suppose add task. Another thing we need to do is actually add, use server here. Ooh. Okay. This is good. This is a new error.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tasks.
So
It's not recognizing map. So our tasks is coming back as not an array.
potentially is undefined. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So cannot read the property. I
Fine.
was seeing this error yesterday.
Okay.
So this is good.
Yeah. Let's see. That's something we can track down.
Okay. Another interesting wrinkle is that we'll get console logs in here now in the terminal, since this is technically a server component. Let's do it here. Okay. All right, slow down now. Yeah, so we're getting undefined. So is this working correctly? So let's get into this here. If tasks. I'm just going to start marking my stuff out. So this is a GET request, right? You're basically saying this is the response.
Should we see what's in that res?
Yeah, let's see what's in the res. And let's just see if data comes in as well. Sometimes just knowing like which one of these actually shows up is kind of informative. And then same here. Okay. Fully re-rendered. Whoa, look at that. Cannot read properties of null reading sections.
I saw get tasks down there.
Where did you see?
Right under the green check mark.
Oh, over here.
Right.
Okay, right.
There's that
Okay.
console log.
Failed to
Parse
parse URL from API/task. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder why that would be. So it's failing to parse this.
You know, and I was again in that other project in the last couple of days. I was trying to do this type of pattern where I was trying to do a fetch to the API endpoint within that project, within the component like this and everything, and it did not like it. It was not having any of it, and I don't know why or exactly what the cause of that was, but and I tried putting all of that in there, Timmy. Give it a shot, but that was working on the client side, and then it's just not accepting it on the server.
Okay, well, there's get task.
Compiling API task.
Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, well, there we go. So
Okay.
here are the tasks.
Interesting. Okay. Oh.
And so I just changed. Functions cannot be passed directly to client components unless you explicitly expose it by marking it with use server. Okay. And so this is a delete task situation. Why is this? Let me see if I pull this out.
Yeah, just.
And which means that I also have to. Okay. Let's do it like this.
Nothing can be easy.
No, I gotta go to task too. Okay, hold
on. I mean, like, this is the beauty, but also the frustration with that TypeScript is because this is TypeScript telling you, like, hey, you've defined this thing this way, you're breaking it. And most of the time that's really useful, except for when you're trying to do refactoring in just bite-sized pieces.
Right.
Or maybe this isn't explicitly TypeScript. I guess this is probably React.
I think this is actually a server client problem, and this is what I think we should do instead. We should probably create a separate action that gets called. So let's see, is it on task that, and I guess, okay, this is going to be a client component though, because it's utilizing, let me think about that. Trash is just an image, right?
Yep.
What is this? This is a date formatter?
That's the date format. So if we really wanted this to be server, we could make smaller components for like the date and the icon button. And then those could be client. So I was watching a video trying to get this all figured out the last couple of days. I was just watching this one today, and the pattern he was suggesting in this video was he tries to use server components as much as possible, as high up as possible, and then uses client components as what he called them as islands of interactivity. So
right. Okay.
The idea of like a task could still be a server component, but then those buttons could be a client component, and it's just that one little bit that gets done on the client side, and then the imports would work and all that jazz. So back to this. I mean, we're getting all the stuff there that we wanted to get there, but we're still having another issue.
And so this issue, I think if I do this actually might fix it. Let's just see. I've done this a few times. Doesn't always work, but sometimes
inside of the function you put use server.
Sometimes it doesn't appear to be the fix here. Actually, we're getting that other issue again.
I really have a feeling that has to do with like server components, client components being used improperly of some sort, kind of just clashing with Next.
I did just take this out. Does this fix that? Not the fastest refresh.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so much for fast refresh.
Okay.
See, what we need to be using is
Function.
feet for our build environment.
Okay, so function get tasks. How is get tasks being sent to a Maybe you meant to call this function rather than return it. Okay, this looks like, is it telling us what page this is on? It's not.
I think that's in the in the page, right?
Oh, that is the action, right? Oh no, that's add task. Where's get
Yeah,
task?
I think you're
Get
on.
task is
I
on.
think it's on page.tsx.
Oh, right. Okay. Where am I? Here. Okay.
Get tasks. Yes.
Oh, get task is not marked as use server. So one thing we might do is also abstract this to the actions folder,
Yeah, I
or its
think
own like
we were
branch
already
or
talking
something.
about like the get task, delete task, like moving that out somewhere else as well. I think that would be beneficial. Hey, okay, so that's looking all right there.
Let me just restart.
And that's
Just this.
like almost that's another benefit of this thing too, is that it really forces you to like compartmentalize your client and your server components, your functions that are supposed to be used with one or the other, instead of just kind of like throwing it into these giant mutant disgusting client components that just have way too much stuff inside of them.
Right. Just way too much going on.
Yeah. You know, you've got like hook calls, you've got API calls, you've got state, you've got use effects, you've got functions, you've got JSX, and like all of
But we
that.
have
There you
no
go.
error.
There we go. Okay. So it was,
Okay. So
this
it
wants
looks
to be
like
done on the server. That's
So it
interesting.
was a
Yeah.
couple things. This needs to be, yeah, you need to mark it as
That
use
works,
server.
huh? So it's not just in
Yeah,
components that you put use server or use client at the top. You can do it inside of a function body.
yeah, and that's essentially the same function as this. When I put
Yeah.
use server up here, it's performing the same thing. It's marking it as like a server action, basically.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Um,
I just didn't realize you could
and
put it in the body of a function to also do that. I just thought it was a component thing.
mm,
Cool.
and I want to note the one thing we were having an issue with before was this use client as a when I took this away, that's what was generating that create context error.
Yep.
I've actually seen a fix for this as well, that we might use because we don't necessarily want to convert this whole component into a client component. And basically, the recommendation for working with third-party libraries that do require client components is that somewhere, and I'm not going to do this right now necessarily, but somewhere you create a file and you simply do you import like this trash icon, for instance, and you export it the same, but you use that as a client component, and then you import from that file this component, and then you can fit it into a server component. Because server components can be above client components.
Okay,
Then
so
then
that
you're putting a little
file,
interactivity.
the file becomes the client component. You import that into your server component. So
Yeah,
import,
and
export, and then you put that in somewhere else. Okay, I see that. Interesting.
I like. Do you mind if I try it real quick with the little time we have left?
Go for it. Sure. That's cool. That's
Let's
kind
just
of
call
a
this
cool little pattern.
third party or something like that. And so we'll call this one. I guess we'll just call this one trash.
It's a trash component.
And I suppose this needs to be TSX. Just absolute trash. There, and then task. Oh, not how I wanted that to look. Okay, so we import trash from there. We go. I haven't done this before, so this might not be the right way, but I think what we do is like export trash. Hold on, how's that work? Declaration or statement to be expected. Oh, maybe it's like this actually. Trash image, we'll say, equals return Trash. Trash image. Okay.
It could just be icon, but
That's probably a better way to, and maybe that's what we'll do.
yeah.
But in the interest of time, okay, let's just make sure that even worked.
Yeah. And if it does, then what we would do is we would, instead of trash.tsx, we could make that phosphor or icons.tsx or whatever.
It's because you know what I could do even is just as trash, I think. Right? Use as a JSX component. I'll have to look into this.
You're exporting a function. It's being exported as a function. It's not being exported as an icon.
Right.
I've seen this kind of pattern before, but I'm drawing a blank on. Maybe
we'll have to
one
look
more
into
thing.
this.
Instead of a function, make it an object.
Like trash image.
Like icons or something, and then inside of there you would have trash, and then put the icon there. You export the object, and then it would be like icons.trash.
So you're saying like,
so export, yeah, icons.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I'm not sure if this is going to work. This is just a guess from seeing this kind of pattern. So icons, make it an object, make trash be the key, and then not capital.
Okay.
And then put the trash capital T there.
Okay.
And then
from here we're going to import icons. Cool. And so this would be,
and then that'd be like icons.trash. Or up here you could do structure further. Can you do that in an import? Can you do like?
Oh, I think I could do like trash equals icons.
Okay.
It would be lowercase, I suppose.
Perhaps.
And then yeah, right. Let me we'll look this up and go through this before next week.
So we're just laundering the icons, the third party through a client component before bringing it into the server component is basically the idea.
Yes, exactly. Let's do this, and then for here, we'll just go back to what we were before. Cool. Okay, and we'll just leave this as a client component for now, because we know that works. I guess the last thing to do would just be make sure that we can actually submit an actual task. Fix fix trash icon.
Make less trash. Code less trash.
That's to server component. Okay. No, failed to parse. Oh, it's going to be the same problem. Failed to paste URL from API task.
So you added the whole like localhost thing before.
I did that for. What did I do that for? I did that here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I need to do that in actions. Like that?
Let's try it. Worth a shot.
Trash icon. Make less trash. I love that.
That could be our other shirt.
Okay. Oh, didn't like that either. Data, task name, trash icon. Priority 1.
It's supposed to be a number instead of a string, maybe?
Oh, maybe I need to
Yeah.
do. Were we doing like a parse int kind of thing?
Or just like a number
Oh
constructor,
yeah, there you go.
capital N number, yeah, and then wrap that.
Okay.
I tried using parseInt last week, and it was not working for me. And I'm not sure. I know that parseInt is a thing. I even looked it up on MDN, but parseInt was not happening, and the number constructor was working. So I'm not quite sure of what the difference is there.
Okay. This time it created the task. Last thing that we'll need to do then is bring in something from Next. I forget which package from Next. Import revalidate from next slash I think it's server, but let me just double check.
Let me look this up. I'm gonna see if I can find it for you
Okay.
as quickly as possible. Oh, and then Next.js's documentation gives me a 404 on the search result.
Beautiful.
That's cool.
That's what we love to see.
What in the world? Data
Because
fetching.
right now
Here we
we're
go.
returning data, but we actually don't need to do that.
Revalidate. Revalidate. Revalidate path is coming from next.cache.
There it is. That's the one. Because it has to do with the caching behavior of Next.
You're welcome.
Oh, all is well in the world. Okay.
Man, this is quite a restructuring of everything.
It is, and we don't have to stick to this again. I just wanted to show some of what I have learned.
This is helpful. This is helpful.
Then what we would do is revalidate the to-do path, because what that basically means, I think, is that we're sending back for like redo the HTML for to-do.
Yeah, because it's all because it's server rendered, server side rendered, we have to communicate with the server to say, hey, send us that. Oh man. The third time. Oh.
I don't know what is new about this. I'm so sorry.
It's just killing me.
Sleep. Maybe this is too much sleep for me.
Oh man, the third time, just like you're going through it, the boop, just boop, bye. Oh, that's so funny.
All right, let's see if this works.
It's the new Primza.
It is the new Primza. You're right.
Oh, okay.
One thing you'll note though is that it automatically revalidates. So the problem we were having before is that I added this new task, right? But then it wasn't showing up right away. And this is like what you could project as a problem with server components, because we're not updating dynamically. It's not like it's automatically making
client
that call.
side, right? That's the
Yeah. So when I pulled this back up, all we saw was this, and part of that is because of Next's caching behavior. Next automatically caches, and you have to call like a revalidate if you wanted to like make another call and check for new data in a shorter time span. I don't know what the default caching time limit or behavior is, but it's pretty strong. It'll hold that cache for a while. So what we added here in revalidate path is basically a call to say like, hey, after we've made this new entry, check to-dos again, and then it tells where is it? Then it tells our to-do page to I don't know if it's a full re-render or how this works, but basically it does get tasks again. It like calls get tasks again, repopulates it, and that's how we get this result. Now all these changes have broken the trash. I've broken the delete icon, so I can't get rid of these right now. But maybe for next week we can clean that up, or just decide not to go further with any of this. But at least this is the idea.
I mean, I think it's really cool. it's definitely helping me understand more of this server versus client stuff. The thing that I've
Yeah.
seen online, and it's been interesting recently, is that I've seen a few different people who are generally individuals on like LinkedIn that give advice to younger developers or developers looking for work and whatnot. Um, these individuals have been saying things along the lines of like, don't spend your time learning Next server components because it's so new that like existing code bases at companies out there you're going to get hired at least that's the
Mhm.
implication is that like it's super new, which makes it exciting and cool, but it's not going to get you a job because nobody's using it in production yet at a large scale.
Totally.
Um, and I'm not saying that right now to like poo-poo any of this because clearly it's functional and it's cool and it's probably going to become more popular as stuff goes along, right? Server side rendering is becoming more of it's coming back into vogue after all the massive JavaScript downloads to client sides kind of slow down apps and slow down initial loads. And also, server components are better for SEO because they
Mhm.
have a portion of that HTML already rendered on the server, which like Google will scan that portion of your site, and it will actually have that HTML there to give it context and information about your site. When your app is fully front end client side rendered, those pages don't exist because it's all being built on the user's client on the computer, not on the server. So it's better for SEO for those reasons. So um, I think it's very cool. There's no I mean, I could almost see a world where we could I don't know. I mean, then going forward, adding new features would be an absolute pain. But like having two parallel, like this is the client side old school
Mhm.
version, this is the server side new school version of the to do thing, right? I don't know how we'll go forward with that at this point, but
That's a question for later, but at the very least, it's some exposure to it, and it was good for me to kind of get my reps and like place these things again. You know, the questions this leaves for me, at least in this particular paradigm for designing, is how extensive is the use of that action keyword? So you saw we added that to the form, and so anytime I click submit, the form performs whatever that function is. Add task in this case. I'm kind of curious. Where can action be used, and are there any other like particularities that are different about that compared to on submit? Like you notice we didn't have to add any like prevent default or any function logic like that. So I don't know. There's a lot to look into. I've seen the same sentiment that you're talking about in terms of like don't learn all this expecting that you'll be doing this on the job. But you never know.
you
You
never
never
know.
know.
And on the other side too is like I see all the time, either in an interview or as a application question or whatever have you. People always want it's like staying up with the cutting edge technology. What are you doing to stay up to edge with cutting edge
Hmm.
technology? And this would be a perfect example of that exploration of staying up to current tech and whatnot too. So, I mean,
It's a big, yeah. It's a big like exploding. Well, not exploding. I don't know. It is a big subject within the Next ecosystem, and it feels like they're investing in developing it. So we'll see where it goes.
and Next already has such a giant foothold in the industry
Hmm.
that it's
Hmm.
it's not like Next is going anywhere. So it's kind of like where Next is heading is that's what's next for the rest of us, really. Kind of
They
like
love
how
to define
like
what's next.
React paved the way, and now Next is kind of doing that same thing. So cool. Well, thank you, Courtney. That was fantastic.
Yes, of
Um,
course.
uh, Thank you for everybody who joined us, and hope you learned something as well. And we will be back again next week.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
See ya.